It's the Afternoon Office Party 748 podcast. Gerold Girbeau, Bottlepopper, DJ Phingaprint, and of course, we got the man in here, Dr. Umar Johnson. He is definitely in the building on this Friday. Happy weekend to everybody, man. Yes. And in the city for a great cause. Now, Dr. Umar, you've been a very busy man lately.
Yes,
Been
sir.
seeing you everywhere.
Absolutely.
Let's get straight to it. What's
Yes,
going
sir.
on?
Well, you know, when you're number one in black consciousness, that's how it goes.
Okay, all right.
But,
Real
you know,
language.
saving the children,
Yes.
raising the consciousness.
That's right.
Building the school.
Okay.
And fighting back against the oppression. So that's what we do.
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about yourself, man. Philly native, born and raised.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much know about me. It's been a long time. But, born and raised Philly.
Yeah.
Doctor of clinical psychology, certified school psychologist, certified school principal, child therapist, Pan-Africanist.
Oh, yeah.
A relative of the great Frederick Douglass, relative of the great Bishop Wayman, who was the 7th AME bishop.
Right.
Author, black parent advocate, the art of war for dealing with America's public and charter schools, as well as psychoacademic Holocaust, special ed and ADHD wars against black boys.
That's
Okay.
all right.
And those are the books. Those are the books. Okay. All
you
right.
know what, Jay? We might got to grab 2 copies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll bring
Only
it,
got like 6 because I forgot to bring them back from Baltimore last week, but y'all get 2 up.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
I
sir.
love the Baltimore, Maryland area. I'll be out there messing around a little bit,
Okay.
DC area.
Yeah, that's where I'll
there.
be. That's where I'll be.
Okay.
You know.
So, yeah, man, now you're here for the Free to Land, Free to Water situation that's going on. Tell us a little bit about it and why you came here for it.
Well, for me, you know, being a Pan-Africanist, the problems of any black people are the problems of all black people.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I don't care whether it's Jackson or Johannesburg, South Africa. You know, if I'm called upon, I'm showing up.
Right.
Because one thing we know about racism, they may drop the problem in one city, but before you know it, it's all over the country.
Right.
So we have to fight it before it gains momentum. And that's one of the weaknesses of black people. We're very sectarian, very tribalistic, very selfish. So if it's not happening in our hometown, if it's not happening in our city, our state, we tend to ignore it. When the truth of the matter is, if we would have dealt with it when we first saw it, wherever it raised its head, we probably could have killed the demon before it came to our doorstep.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a weakness of black folks. We tend to fight problems after they've already gained momentum.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
You
right.
see,
Yeah.
so my thing, when I look at this Jackson water crisis situation, even when I look at the 1020 bill,
Right.
you know, with Jackson being the blackest city per capita, 80% African, you know, I see this as a testing ground. Let's see if we can get away with doing it to them. If we can get away with doing it to Jackson, Mississippi, then let's go to Detroit, your second blackest.
There you go.
Let's see if we can get it in Detroit. If we can get it in Detroit and Jackson, we're going to have a little bit of fight with Chicago and New York because they're the 2 largest
Well,
cities.
you're going to have a hell of a fight with Chicago.
But we can get it done.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing we have to understand, no matter what our numerical presence is, if you're not organized, it's as if you're not there at all.
Right.
Well, how do you think you organize us? Because there's a handful that will organize, and then there's the crowd that won't organize and won't vote. How you feel about that?
Well, here's the thing. Voting is important, but only if we're going to organize.
Okay.
I am not a fan of people just going out to vote because it's time to vote. That's pure
I'm
nonsense.
definitely not that either.
That is a agenda that the black bourgeoisie in the Democratic Party Plantation Slave Committee created. You
Totally
know,
agree.
they use fear.
Totally
They use fear to force people out to vote. We're the only people in the country who vote out of fear.
Right.
Everybody else votes out of concession, out of demand, out of need, out of resource. Black people vote out of fear.
Right.
So if he's an Asian, he's going to vote because something's coming to the Asian community.
Right.
He's an East Indian, he's going to vote because something comes to the Indian community. You're a Latino, you're going to vote because something coming to the Latino community.
Right.
She's a European Jew, she's going to vote because something coming to the European Jewish community. He belongs to a labor organization or professional association.
Right.
He's going to vote because something's coming to his organization.
That's right.
I'm black. I'm not getting nothing. Nothing that they're getting is coming to me.
Right.
I'm purely voting because the black bourgeoisie of the Democratic Party has told me, if you don't, things will get worse. Look at the difference now.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
That's
else is voting to gain.
Yeah.
Right.
We're voting to prevent someone else from getting into office, which means the person we're voting for has no obligation to us at all because we're not voting for him to do anything.
Right.
We're voting for him to keep the other guy out.
Now, how do you fix or stop that?
Well, number one, I think black people have to get off both plantations.
Okay.
Get off the Democratic Party plantation and the Republican Party plantation. We should build our own independent black political union and then leverage our voting numbers to make demands on either major party, right? There's never going to be a black president unless they want one.
Right.
And I don't want another black president,
Right.
because truth be told, the reason we're in the situation we're in is because we gave Barack Obama 8 years to do whatever the hell he wanted to do to black people. Most of the problems we suffering from right now, the Jackson water crisis, all of it, you can trace it back to a neglect of Obama that black people co-signed. So I don't even blame Obama. We co-signed it. No other president in American history did we sit back and let do whatever the hell they want and ask them not to do nothing.
Now let me ask you this: you make mention of the Democratic Party like that. What are your thoughts about this Republican Party?
Well, both
we
of them
have?
are demons.
Okay, well,
both of them are demons.
Because I'm wanting to know where you're going at with it.
That's why I said earlier, we need to start our own black political union or our own black political party. The most honorable Marcus Garvey, in his days in New York City, he started the Black People's Political Union.
Right.
Because I'm of the opinion you don't necessarily need a party. Now, in Jackson, you can have a party because you're in the majority. Wherever we're in the majority, do the party because you can win. Right? If you're not in the majority, do the union so you can influence whoever does win.
Okay.
As long as Democrats know they get our vote no matter what, as long as Republicans know they don't no matter what, we'll never be taken seriously by either candidate.
That's right.
It's like walking into a supermarket and paying for groceries that you haven't even taken off the shelf yet. That's exactly what we do every election. Look at President Joe Biden. President Joe Biden, 1 year before the election, said that the #1 civil rights issue in America was transgender equality. He tweeted this 1 year before he got elected. Black people didn't say nothing. We voted him in the office. What was the first thing he did when he took office? He passed the transgender equality bill.
I think that happened because everybody was sick of Trump. Okay. And they were just like, whatever he says, you know.
But that's our problem.
Yeah.
Because we reduce the machine of racism to individuals.
Right.
Racism is not an individual. Donald Trump is not racism. He is a racist, but he is not the system. What they have done to black people's political demise, if they have brainwashed us and convinced us that racism is an individual personality disorder. It is not. Racism is a group system developed by white people to disenfranchise all black people so they can control resources, opportunities, and privileges. All white people are racist. Everyone. Everyone. There's no white person who's not a racist. Let me finish this point because I want to make sure you understand this. When I say all white people are racist, that doesn't mean that they're all bigots. There's a difference between being a racist and a bigot. A bigot, I hate you because you're African. A bigot, I want to kill you if I can. A bigot, you're the N-word to me. A bigot is emotionally committed to your destruction because you are black. The racist is committed to control of the resources and opportunities and privileges that you need in order to survive. In other words, I can like black people and still be a racist. Because my racism is not about hating you. It's not about something being wrong with Africa. It's not about your inferiority. My racism is about one thing: keeping white people in charge. And this is why black people don't understand racism. We think white people gotta hate you to be a racist. No, they don't. They simply have to be invested in what? The disproportionality, the inequality, the racism, the discrimination, keeping the resources in white hands. That's all racism is about. It has nothing to do with personal relationships. And this is why when black men lay down with white women or black women lay down with white men, your mate is still a racist. That's sex. That's a family. That has nothing to do with their obligation to keep white people in charge.
Gotcha.
Now, I say all the time that Mississippi government is just pure racist, and it always has been. And they really snuck this bill through before anybody could do anything about it, and then it just pops up out of nowhere, and now they want to change everything, and the bill got passed. So what do you think about this? As far as the Mississippi government goes.
You're absolutely right in what you're saying, but again, I'm not going to single them out because they're all racist. You understand? So racism is a fact of reality for African people. This country and the whole world is run by power politics. So the question Black Jackson and Black Mississippi has to ask itself: how do we develop our power politically and economically and socially so we can push back against some of these things? Because if you don't own nothing, if you don't control nothing, if you don't even have your numbers together so you can force your agenda, you're going to always be the victim of everybody else's agenda. So the question becomes, what are we doing wrong that we cannot influence what they do? That's the question. And to that point, I would argue that we as black people have gotten so complacent and comfortable with the toys of white society that most of us are okay being on the bottom as long as we can watch the Super Bowl and get on TikTok. You understand? So racism has created this little box of existence for black people that we are comfortable in. I always say the big difference between black people and white people are in the pursuit of power, black people are in the pursuit of money.
Yep. Because like there are few black people in the legislature, and anything I feel like they put out or try to vote on is going to get turned down anyway because they're outnumbered.
Yeah.
And there's another reason for that too. Number one is because they're black and they're outnumbered, as you said. Number two, they're all married to the Democratic Party. That's number two. You understand? So let us be honest. Let us make sure we frame the argument correctly. Hold on, let me finish this. It's not just about they're against us because we're black. That's number one, hands down. But on top of that, you belong to the enemy gang. You belong. So you're not just coming here fighting for black people.
Right.
You're coming here fighting for the Democratic Party of Mississippi's agenda in the name of black people. Do you see that?
Yeah. Right.
So if I already got a big fight on my hands, being black, why am I going to add the Democratic Party of Mississippi's agenda on my back too? In other words, your fight is not even a pure fight because you claim you're fighting for black people, but you're actually fighting for the white Mississippians' Democratic agenda. Drop the Democratic agenda and make it an all-black fight.
So where do we start with that? Like getting the people all on one accord, or what are some of the tools or tactics we can do to exercise that, to get black people on one accord, to get off of the plantations, like you said, out of being Democrat, because that's all they know.
Exactly, that's all they know. We've been voting Democrat for almost 100 years.
And you're absolutely right. And I always tend to go back and ask black people, do you even know why you're Democrat? Or even white people, why are you Republican? And they can never really give me a solid answer.
Right.
I mean, what do you think that is? Why do you think that is, in your personal opinion?
Well, one of the biggest reasons that you have so many white people who are Republican over Democrat is because during the civil rights era, the Democrats were painted as the party of the blacks. Although we know Lyndon Baines Johnson, John F. Kennedy couldn't give a damn about black folks. They waited to the very last minute to send troops into Little Rock and everywhere else. You understand? So it was never about caring about black people, but they end up getting forced into it because once America started playing international police around the world, they had to clean up their image. And part of cleaning up that image is making white people accept black people through desegregation. So in the Democrats being effectively painted by the Republicans as the party of black people, after Lyndon Baines Johnson left office, Nixon, Ford, nearly every president thereafter except Jimmy Carter, who was a Southern Georgia Democrat. Everybody else was a Republican up until Clinton. You understand me? So there was a national white backlash against the civil rights era. They wouldn't elect another Northern, or should I say they wouldn't elect another Democrat after Carter until Clinton. So most of your presidents post-civil rights have been what? Republican. On purpose, because white people see Democrats as a party of blacks, even though it's not. The problem is we also see them as the party of blacks, and they're not.
It looks
Democrats
like
are very clever because what they do is they manipulate Republican racism against blacks to the benefit of the Democratic Party. So for example, let's take the George Floyd police bill. Still hasn't been passed.
It hasn't. No.
When the Democrats had a majority in Congress, it still didn't get passed.
Nope.
When the Democrats were in charge, it still didn't get passed. You know why? They didn't want the George Floyd bill any more than the Republicans. But what they did was they do what? They wait until the Republicans have a majority, then they bring it up for a vote. So now when it doesn't pass, the Republicans kept the George Floyd bill.
So they're at fault.
But what about when you was in the majority? Why didn't it come to the floor when you had a chance to pass it? Because you didn't want it either. So what the Democrats do is they stifle anything that benefits black people while they're in charge. And they wait till the Republicans come out, and then they enter it when they know it's not going to pass. That's how they control us.
Pushing on
We are literally under a two-party dictatorship. Black people suffer from the illusion of inclusion. And that's what keeps us loyal to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. Get off of both of them. No white racist Republican Party is ever going to free blacks.
How do you start this situation that you're talking about starting?
Organize.
Okay, I understand that. But how do you organize in a city like Jackson, Mississippi?
Because we're going to have to fight
the same way we did it 75 years ago.
You know what I'm saying?
Then fight them.
Right.
That's the black.
I have no problem. I have no problem with fighting.
And what you also got to understand too is in a state like Mississippi, the Democrats are only 2 stones throw away from being Republicans themselves.
Right.
That means your black Democrats have relationships with white Democrats who have agendas that are antithetical to black people's progress. And also your black Democrats have relationships with white Republicans that are antithetical to black people's progress. So we have to understand that behind closed doors, although it looks like a war in public, there's deals being made between black Democrats and white Republicans behind your back that keep us where we are. Okay. That's the history of black politics post-King. Right. So you have to do an investigation in all black elected officials from the top to the bottom and find out who's financing the campaign. Because until you know who's financing people's campaigns, you don't know whose agenda they're carrying out.
Yeah.
I don't believe in he's black, she's black. I don't play that.
That's right.
Show me the list of your campaign contributors, and I'll know whether you black or not.
Okay, all right.
So you mentioned earlier about black people really just searching for money. Do you think this is a reason that we can't join together, especially in a state like Mississippi where everybody's pretty much poor? And they get an opportunity to come along and maybe backstab a situation that they might have been doing some good work in, but some money comes along and it changes everything.
There's an elder of mine in Philadelphia whose name I'm forgetting. She's a published author and professor at one of the universities in Philly, retired now. Mm-hmm. She said black people are the only people who don't have a racial ego. Mm-hmm. We don't have a racial ego. Right. We have a Christian ego. We have a Muslim ego.
Right.
We got a Democratic ego. We got a Republican ego. We got a gang ego. We got a sorority ego. We got a Masonic ego. We don't have a racial ego. Yeah. So there's nobody who's defending the best interests of the race, who's looking out for the best interests of the people. Right. Everybody is sectarian, even when it comes to politics. The mere fact that some of us are Republicans and some of us are Democrats speaks to the fact that we're fighting somebody else's agenda. We got a Democratic ego and we're not even white people, but we don't have a black ego. Right. So what you're going to have to do is reconstruct the collective consciousness of African people. You're going to have to do that one African at a time. You got to start bringing us together. We got to organize the old way. Forget social media. Okay. You're never going to organize black people by using TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. First of all, those are all white platforms. They'll shut you down in a minute the minute you say something that ain't right. And they're tied into the FBI. Mark Zuckerberg is and CIA. So it's nothing but an FBI device. Right. We got to organize the old school way. Door to door, we having a meeting tonight. Coming out, we going to feed you. You got to feed black folks so they're not going to talk. Because we're politically immature. We're politically immature. Mm-hmm. You also got to entertain black people or they're not going to come. We're the only people in the country, if you want us to come out, you either got to feed us or entertain us or both. White people don't need to be fed. White people don't need to be entertained.
But
Chinese
they have resources. But you have to build it.
You had resources too, but you dissipated them. We're $2 trillion, my brother. We spend $2 trillion on Jordans every day. $4 billion on liquor. McDonald's gets $1 billion. $30 billion on hair and beauty. We have it, but you have to organize it. Yeah. And the biggest resistance to the organization is the self-hatred. Remember, there's no racial ego. Black people have given up on being black a long time ago. Yeah. That's why we got niggas running around talking about some of the Indians and aliens and all this other stuff. Yeah. Nobody wants to be black anymore, you see. So you got to rebuild that. Rebuild that. At times, and it's going to be hard. This ain't no easy thing.
Oh, no, that's what
it may not even get done in our lifetime.
That's what I was segmenting into. Okay. At times, do you feel like you by yourself in this, and do you have like opposition coming from your own kind?
There's always going to be opposition. Yeah. Right.
But do you feel like you're by yourself doing it? Because we see you on all the platforms and this, that, and the other, and I don't know if I can necessarily say I see anybody talking like you. Mm-hmm. But I do know two most dangerous things on the planet is sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Mm-hmm. So There's two answers to that question. One, I'm not alone. Okay. In that I have tens of millions of supporters around the world, right? Okay, sure. Like, for example, the school we building in Wilmington. Okay. That's the first school in the history of this country that was built exclusively off donations from Africans from every continent. So I get nothing but love. Okay. You understand? Okay. Right. I'm probably the first mainstream scholar to have the following of these people hanging up on this wall. Gotcha. Put me in the room with any rapper. More people probably gonna come to me than any rapper. Right. Gotcha. That's the type of love I get, right? Right. So that's the one answer. The other answer is the frontline battle. Yes. Because there's not a lot of black people who are willing to take the stands I take, who are willing to show up and show out the way that I do. See, if you look at most conscious people, the so-called conscious community, I call it fake woke, because all they do is do videos. Nobody's doing any activism. Mm-hmm. Right, One of the biggest differences between the conscious community of today and the civil rights era of the 60s is they didn't have the knowledge we have. They didn't have all the degrees, but they had the activism. Stokely was on the streets. Right. H. Rap Brown was on the streets. King, Malcolm, Mega, they was on the streets. Mm-hmm. Look at these guys today. Look at your YouTube being fake wokers. Yep. What activism? You never mentioned Dr. King.
No, King is, I'm a hero. I'm speaking at Dr. King's April 3rd. I've been to the Mountaintop speech celebration in Memphis on the 3rd. So shout out to Memphis, I'll be there on the 3rd. But the point is, these guys today have all this knowledge. Right. They don't do nothing with it. The whole conscious community has been reduced to a what? To a podcast.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, I get more attention from the white power structure than I deserve. See, back in the days of Stokely and King and Malcolm, J. Edgar Hoover had to worry about 20 legitimate groups. Right. He couldn't focus on one. He had 20. Yeah. I got to keep the SCLC. I got to watch the Freedom Riders. I got to watch the sit-ins. I got to watch Elijah. I got to watch Garveyites. I got to watch Stokely. You see, today, you can count on your one hand the people who are sincerely committed to our people, struggling in the streets, who are not being financed by white people. I want to add that. Because some of you will say, well, I know this guy, this guy. Show me who ain't getting money from white people. Right. You feel me? I can't name one group. Let me take that back. I do know a few. New Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton Gun Club, there's groups, right? The UNIA, the Garvey movement, there's different groups. But frontline grassroots action, politically speaking, you can hardly find anybody who's not being funded by the enemy. And that's another big problem that we have. You're trying to fight for justice using racism's dollars. Right. It'll never happen.
Just like BLM, huh?
BLM. Well, I think BLM was a CIA, FBI front to take over the traditional masculine-led Black power movement with the LGBTQ and bring all the Black youth over to the LGBTQ camp. So they used the red, black, and green flag. They led with Black power. Yeah. But when you looked at their agenda, it was all LGBTQ.
Yep, that's right.
I think that was the hijacking of the masculine leadership of the Black power movement. Right. Because one thing about BLM that's very interesting, right? They have never been audited by the IRS.
Wow.
We've been audited already, and we haven't collected nowhere near the amount of money. Do you understand me? So how does FDMG get audited by the IRS? And BLM has collected tens of millions of dollars. Yes. They've been all over the internet. Candace Owens, who's a Negro and a coon, but she did a documentary on them, and the IRS ain't touched them.
Have you ever debated Candace Owens?
No, but I'll do it. I'll gladly conduct the intellectual assassination.
You ever met her?
She can't go to war with me.
Nope. No.
She's a coon. She's married to a white man. I have no respect for her, but I'll gladly conduct the intellectual assassination. Name the time and place.
So you mentioned finances earlier. Again, I stay on the money because I always believe it goes with the money.
Follow the money.
No black dollar, no Black power.
And I'm wondering, with so many Black millionaires and billionaires out here that could be assisting these programs or doing what needs to be done, why do you think that doesn't happen? Because like you said, Martin and Stokely and all them, they didn't have the resources in their work.
That's why they were effective.
Billionaires and millionaires back then to contribute.
That's why they were effective, Queen. See, back then, the Black community funded the grassroots organizations. You follow me?
Right.
If Stokely and King, and I don't think they would have went for it anyway because they was too sincere, which is another big difference between them and us. Most of these guys are looking for money, not freedom, right? Yeah. But they were so sincere, they would have never accepted a dollar from the power structure anyway. After Stokely and King and Malcolm, that's when the government said we need to start funding Black community organizations to do what? Prevent Black revolution and radicalism. That's, that's why your Black churches don't do much. Because most of them are tapping into city grants, state grants, federal grants. And of course, corporate American grants. But more specifically to your question, we have to stop talking about the celebrities helping us. They're never going to do it. And if they are going to do it, they're going to do it only after you have shown and proven you are serious and you have achieved a victory. For example, take FDMG, right? I'm the biggest Black scholar in the world. There's no name that comes next to mine. I haven't got a single donation from a Black celebrity.
Wow.
I know many of them. They talk my phone, they text me. I know them all. Your Grammy Award winners, all that. I know them all. They call me.
Of course.
Never wrote a check.
Everybody
Never
knows
wrote a check. Not one of them wrote a check.
Wow.
Do I fault them? No.
No.
Because here's what I'm going to say. When we open up that school next year, right? And they see them kids in there, I want to see if I get it checked in. Some of them want to help, but they're afraid. They got to make sure before they stick their neck out, Dr. Umar is serious because after all, we heard he stole the money, he did this, ain't no school, right? Yeah. So once they see the students, I may get a check. Most of them will never donate because the Black celebrity, the Black athlete, the Black entertainer is a corporate commodity. They are plantation slaves. I don't say this to be disrespectful, I say it to be honest. The only difference between your Black celebrities and our ancestors who picked cotton in Mississippi 157 years ago is they get a check. Our ancestors did not. They are just as controlled, and I would argue more enslaved than our ancestors were. Because when you look at their contracts, they have contracts, specifically the athletes, that specifically forbids them from getting involved in any Black community grassroots work. This is why when you see the football players and the NBA players, they always taking pictures with white white kids? Why they never taking pictures with black kids? Because they afraid of looking too black, because looking too black does not allow me to be marketable. And if I'm not marketable, my career ends.
And if they do, it's in a poor community instead of,
Thanks, King.
like they go to these other white schools and all this that are privileged. But if you see them go to a black school, it's in an underserved community, and they really just do it for the photo op.
Yeah, they don't drop no money off.
Yeah, they show
and
up.
My thing is the fact that you can get a tax write-off, you should be dropping even more money.
Right.
You see, because I'm trying to understand how you got 20 cars in your garage, but the neighborhood you come from ain't even got a decent school for the kids.
Right.
You got your own jet or 2 and 3 jets, but the neighborhood you live in is plagued with crime because there's no jobs for black people. And to that point, one of the justifications that the Mississippi State Legislature made for the expansion of the Capital District Zone is crime, right? Backlog and crime. They got to process some of these cases. Well, if you really care about the crime in Jackson or the crime in Mississippi, how about you target the causes of that crime? And the 2 biggest causes of crime in America are miseducation and economic castration. So if they are sincere about caring about the crime, what have they done for schools in Jackson over the past 10, 20, 30 years? Don't tell me you care about crime and you're not making the schools better. For example, do we have industrial building trade programs in Jackson, Mississippi?
No.
I don't just mean 1 or 2 classes. I mean an entire program that takes you from A to Z, and once you finish high school, you can sit for your Mississippi State license to be a plumber, electrician, auto body mechanic. You understand me? That's what we used to have in the black community. The skills that pay the bills. The reason why these brothers out here stealing and robbing and looting, because they got kids to feed, mouths to feed, and nobody's giving them no economic opportunity. So can't nobody talk to me about crime until you talk to me about jobs.
Well, wait. What do you say to the younger black people who are committing crimes? Because now the crime wave is with the 12 through about 17, 18
Well, they're
year
being
olds.
nurtured by the olders to do the crime.
Yeah.
You understand me? So they're being socialized by their big homies to do the crime. They're not waking up and walking outside with the guns. They're being paid to do the drive-bys, sell the dope, pass the packages and everything else. But I want to be clear, as bad as crime is, and it is, I will not demonize the brothers who are doing it, because I understand that they exist within a social structure created by white people to suffocate black people to death. You understand? And unfortunately, our black politicians, state, local, national, they are not fighting enough for economic opportunity for black males. When is the last time you heard a conversation on the Mississippi state floor, congressional state floor down in DC, any state, any city talking about a bill to create jobs for black men in the inner city? Have you ever heard that conversation?
I don't think
All you hear about is prisons and police. And the research shows you that more police and more prisons does not reduce crime. It has no effect. So why are you putting more cops on the street? Because you're giving white people jobs and careers in the name of black dysfunctionality.
Now, speaking of police, with this bill, they're trying to do the Capitol Police and pitting them really against JPD. When JPD was already underfunded and short staffed, they was less police. They was like 60, 100 police short.
Yeah.
And instead of them giving Jackson Police Department, which is majority black, funding to hire more police officers, to pay the police officers more, they started this Capitol Police thing to, do certain areas. And it's mostly out north.
That's right.
This Capital District Zone, in the expansion of it, to me, is gentrification 2.0.
It is.
I'm looking at this.
Yeah,
It's a fast
and I'm
track.
saying to
It's a
myself,
fast track.
We've been saying that.
I'm saying to myself, they're saying, okay, locking them up is helping, but it ain't switching this over
Not
fast enough.
Right.
The police killing them off, them killing each other is helping, but it ain't getting them out fast enough. The charter school movement has definitely helped gentrify black communities across the country, but it ain't getting them out fast enough. We need something that's going to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry. So they said, let's try this. Let's see if the Negroes let us get away with this. We're going to abandon constitutional law. We're going to abandon local procedure. We're going to totally ignore local jurisdiction of the mayor and city council to make their own decisions and elect their own people. And we're just going to do a straight up Adolf Hitler Gestapo tactic and create a white heaven in the middle of a black hell. And we're going to see if they're going to let us get away with this. If this gets away in Jackson, it's going to go national.
Right.
Because there's nothing more blatantly racist and unfair than for you to arrest due process and constitutional procedure to create a white city with all unelected officials, but you're going to charge the citizens of Jackson to pay for it. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. If this ain't a 1954, 1955, 1940 tactic, I don't know what is. But again, what are we going to do? Because the first law of physics is what? No force can be counteracted unless it's met with a force of equal or greater power.
That's right.
So where is the black power? Because sitting around begging white people to change, here's our biggest problem. We're more concerned with changing white people than changing ourselves.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And I'm going to also say this. I got to do more research on the water crisis. I got to do more research on the 1020 bill.
Yeah.
But guess what? This is the culmination of a process that began probably 20, 30 years ago.
That's right.
That slowly gained momentum over years while we sat by and did nothing. This is just the hammer falling.
Yeah.
But the hammer didn't begin to fall with the passage of this bill. It was already falling and we didn't do nothing about it.
It started falling when Jackson got his first black mayor.
Okay.
Yeah,
After
that's
that,
what I
things
think.
started switching.
So
I don't
there's the
disagree with
history
you. I
to it.
totally agree with
Because
you.
after then, it's been a black mayor ever since.
Ever since. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So what
so-
they're going to do is defund and basically destroy the infrastructure of the city. The long-term vision is they want Jackson back. That's the
right.
long-term
We already
vision.
know that.
So what
yeah.
we got to do is we have to destroy, defund, defunct,
Right.
and assassinate the character of Mayor Lumumba, right?
Yeah.
Assassinate the character of the black community activists. We're going to paint them as criminals to the citizens of Mississippi so we can go in for the big land grab and take the whole city back.
Yeah.
And
Because
paint the city with
Jackson
more
is so
crime.
black, they couldn't gentrify y'all the way they gentrify other black cities.
Right.
Because it's too entrenchedly black. You follow?
Yeah.
So that's why they had to do the capital zone, because they said we keep on using these other petty strategies, we won't get Jackson back for 100 years. Let's come with an advance.
And I really believe they had something to do with the uptick in crime in Jackson. Everything on the news
Oh, I believe it.
is Jackson's bad, Jackson's bad,
Right,
Jackson's
right.
I believe
bad.
that.
But the surrounding areas, most of them have just as much crime,
Yep.
or and
Well,
you never
remember,
hear about it.
Who controls the media?
That's right.
You
go.
understand me?
Well,
And we know for a fact, and this has been proven through research, that the media will report crime that never even happened.
Right.
The media will take old crime and report it as new crime. So the media is the biggest part of this Jackson City takeover by the white power structure. What did Brother Malcolm X say? Who passed on the 21st? We can't forget that.
Right.
Malcolm said, the media will have you loving your enemies
Yep.
and hating your
And
friends.
hating
oh
your
my
friends.
gosh.
Now, to segue into another subject, I just want to know how you felt about the situation with Tyree Nichols.
Oh,
in
it was horrible.
Memphis.
Unacceptable. I'll be in Memphis April the 3rd. It was unacceptable. And here's what I want
It was
black people.
disappointing to me because it was brothers.
I'm not surprised though. There was a famous psychological study. Anybody can go look it up. It was the Stanford Prison Experiment, Stanford University. The professor of psychology was Philip Zimbardo, I believe his name was. He did a prison study where he took random people off the street. He assigned some to the prison group, some to the prison police. So you're a prisoner or you police in the prison guard. He had to stop the study within about 2 days. Why? Because the prisoners, although they were not real prisoners, because they were put in the cell, began acting like it. And the prison guards, who were not prison guards, because they were given control over the prisoners, started becoming oppressive and acting just like regular city police. The conclusion of the study was, people are very susceptible to taking on the behavior of the identity you have given them.
Yeah.
The point that I'm making is, although those police were black and they need to be held accountable by the black community for what they did to our brother, they were operating in the name of white supremacy. They were Memphis police.
Right.
Because what the white police are trying to say, this ain't police brutality, this is black on black crime. It's actually both. It's police brutality because they were wearing your uniform, operating in your job, driving your car, operating with your consciousness.
That's right.
That was white police brutality in a black face. You understand?
right.
So those Negroes, and this is why you got to be careful about giving people who don't have power because they abuse it.
Right.
You can't take black men off the street, put them in charge of policing their own neighborhood, and expect them to do it justly. We do have good black police, but that situation in Memphis clearly shows that black people will take on the identity of whichsoever slave master pays their bills.
It was funny to me also that, when these officers were arrested, they showed all these officers in their uniforms, and then the next day it's like, now y'all niggas, we got you in hoodies.
Yeah.
It's the only
We
police.
got you in hoodies.
It's the only police brutality case you've seen in recent memory.
Where's Blue Lives
where they was
Matter?
fired immediately.
Yeah.
Arrested immediately. Charged immediately. The Fraternal Order of Police spoke out against them. When have you ever seen a Fraternal Order
That's
of
why I
Police
said, what
speak
happened
out
to
against
Blue Lives
police?
Matter? Even though they were in
Yeah.
the wrong, what happened to the Blue Lives Matter? They didn't come
You know why?
to their rescue.
Because it's a double standard. It's a double standard. What that shows black people, and don't get me wrong, they deserve to be punished for killing that brother. But what that shows all black people, whether you work for the FBI, CIA, the court system, whether you're a lawyer, a teacher, a governor, a doctor, there's a double standard. And you will never get the protection that you are entitled to because you ain't got the complexion for the protection.
Now, here's a question. Like let's go back to the billionaires and multi-millionaire African Americans that are in this country. How, with the power and the money that they have, why do you think they don't have a voice at this point? Because
money don't equal power. Money don't equal power. And if the white man knows,
why you like, goddamn,
and I got
$3 billion.
Yeah, but your identity is tied up in your money. Your ego is tied up in your money. That means you're not willing to lose your money for anything.
Right.
You understand
that?
But
you got your money, though. You got it.
It can be taken because they all got it from white folks. They got that money from white folks. None of them are self-made. LeBron James is a phenomenal basketball player. Yeah. Shout out to him for breaking the record. Yeah. But LeBron James got rich through the NBA. That's a white corporation. Right. Oprah Winfrey got rich through the white corporation.
But that's how it works.
No, it's not how it works.
Okay, so you're telling me
it doesn't have to work that way.
Okay. And this is not I own this station, okay? So this is grassroots for me. I have all of these employees because I know old school radio, but if corporate America gives me dollars and I still use this platform, we got you on this platform, okay? And you're saying what you're saying. How do I combat that? You see what I'm saying?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
If it's not all black, eventually it will be set back. You understand? So although you may own the station, if you become overly dependent on white corporate sponsorship, technically you're not black anymore.
Well, we don't, but
right.
We don't.
But you understand what I'm saying?
We have a lot
There's
of
black stations who are like that, right?
That are on this station, and that's how it survived for the last 11 years.
Got you. So you're black. But what I'm saying is, you have stations around the country who started off black, fell in love with that white dollar, and they're no longer black anymore. You see, so the balancing act that you have to engage in and other black businesses of any kind has to engage in is how far do I go in accepting this white corporate sponsorship, support, or advertising before they start pulling back? Take me, I'm on the Breakfast Club, right? Yeah. Why do you think I'm only on the Breakfast Club once a year? Because the white corporate sponsors of the Breakfast Club are not interested in hearing Dr. Umar Johnson all the time, even though I get more views than your favorite rapper. You understand?
Okay, but
power is about power. No white man is going to fund you.
You got a Charlemagne that does whatever the hell he does.
Yeah, but Charlemagne ain't Dr. Umar Johnson. You understand me?
Yeah, he's under contract. Okay.
No, Charlemagne is my brother, but he's not me. There's no other me. You understand? There's other brothers who getting there, but they ain't there yet. Very few people have my education who are willing to flip on the system and expose it the way that it is, who didn't leave the system because they were angry at the white man for disinviting them. See, I'm organic. Right. I wasn't trying to run for office and got the chair pulled out. I didn't have a big job with the white man and got the chair pulled out. A lot of these conscious guys came to black consciousness because the white man sabotaged them. If they never got sabotaged, they'll still be sitting next to their slave master. You understand me? Right. That ain't me. So their loyalty to the black community is conditional on income and finances. You see that? Wherever the money go, that's where their political ideology goes. You got to be careful. Listen,
all of the money.
Listen. I was talking to a brother the other day. He said, Dr. Umar, I need you to help me push this agenda I'm working on to advertise black banks. We want black people to put their money in black banks. Totally agree. Totally agree, right? But then I said, what is your definition of a black bank? Because I'm a Pan-Africanist. So what that means is it got to be all black everything. I said, what is your definition of a black bank? You know what he told me?
What?
51% black ownership. I said, I cannot support you. He said, but Doc, it's 51. It don't mean nothing. You can have 51% black ownership, one white man with 49%, and he still got more control than the rest of you all. If it ain't all black, don't call it black. You understand? My definition of a black business is not a black business co-owned by a black person. It's a black business owned exclusively by black people. Sure, you can do business with whites. I'm not against that. That's business. But ownership got to be us. If it ain't no black power, ain't going to be no black dollars.
So do you think that's the situation that happened with Kanye West and his downfall, sort of?
I have mixed view on Kanye. Number one, I have to commend Kanye West for being the first black billionaire since Michael Jackson to expose the Jewish control of black media and entertainment in the way that he did. And even when they stripped him of his potential to make billions, remained stern and unapologetic in his position. You understand? I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Shout out to Kanye West for doing that. On the flip side, putting on my Garvey hat, I'm totally disappointed in this Negro who keeps snow bunny hopping with these damn white Caucasian women, divorced one, ran and married another one.
Right.
So my issue with Kanye is, although you are willing to stand on your principles, even in the face of a loss of money. See, Kanye's power is he's not married to money like all the other black entertainers are.
Right.
They're married to it. When you see Kanye, he's not always running around with 50 chains around his neck, showing off big cars. He look like he a brother sleeping on the street.
Right.
He's not in love with money, and that's why the white man can't control him. All of your other entertainers, they're in love with money, and that's the slave chain that the white man uses to control them. But Kanye is not committed to a black agenda.
No.
Kanye is committed to Kanye's best interest.
That's right.
He's not for the black community, but I still respect the fact that he stood up to the Jews.
Now, one of our producers wants to know about the IEP program for black kids.
Sure, special education. Okay, so when we talk about IEP, we're talking about three things in one. A learning disability, special education, and IEP. You can't have one without the other two.
Okay.
If you tell me my son is in special ed, that automatically means he has an IEP. That automatically means he was diagnosed with a learning disability. Federal special ed law, because special ed is a federal law, a federal program. There's 13 disabilities, right? So there's autism, intellectual disability, emotional disturbance, speech and language impairment, orthopedic impairment, multiple disability, ortho, other health impairment, autism, the children who are deaf and blind, the hearing impairment, there's 13. But the ones they use on black kids the most are intellectual disability, reading and math disability, emotional disturbance, and ADHD for other health impairment. Now, what do those 4 disabilities have in common? They're the 4 disabilities under special ed that are the most subjective and dependent on people's opinions. If you tell me your son got a reading disability, I'm gonna ask you to prove it. You're going to say, well, he has trouble comprehending. I'm going to say, how much practice does he get? How good of an instruction does he get? What quality of school that he get? Most black kids in special ed are in special ed for reading disabilities. You know why? Because they not read at home. Their parents, they got no damn books in that house. Right. They go to the library.
And
they own this. This right here
is
destroying black America. The cell phone. It's destroying black America. They're all over social network, all over video games, but you fell in 2 and 3 classes. And for the life of me, I'm trying to understand why you got black kids in Mississippi who can't read, but they got a video game system in their house. Right. Exactly. So yes, the system is destroying our kids on purpose. They're using special ed to turn black people into a permanent underclass, but they're doing it with our permission because we have gotten comfortable with mediocrity. Most black people are okay with our children being mediocre. And if anybody disagrees with that, I'll say, show me the black city in America that values academic excellence. I don't see it. All I see is attention paid to money, attention paid to these goofy ass gangster rappers, attention being paid to celebrities and entertainers. We do not value academically excellent children.
Because most parents, they'll feel like, you know, well, as long as my child do better than what I did. They have that mentality.
And that's sad.
Yeah.
Because if you were already sub-zero, if he's just -0, you consider that progress, but he's still drowning. But that's the mentality.
That's the mentality.
That's why when I originally came up with the FDMG concept, I wanted to be a residential school. We can't afford that right now, right? So we're going to be a day school.
Okay.
But ultimately, we're going to grow to be a residential academy.
Okay.
Because I don't want to send the kids back to the homes. The homes is where the toxicity is.
It is.
As somebody who's a mobile therapist, I go into a house, I see a white Jesus still. We still got white Jesus.
We do.
No books, video games, cell phones, fake hair, Air Jordans, everything, but nothing to promote academic excellence. We are failing our children as much as the system, which is why I always say, if it was up to me, I wouldn't diagnose kids, I'd diagnose their parents.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
He would not have that reading disability if they didn't
back.
have a parent
That's right.
disability.
What would you say to the parents that would think like, oh, you want a residential school and you're not taking my baby away? What would you say to those?
Keep your baby. I'm not here to fight nobody. You understand? If you want, I ain't here to fight nobody, brother. One thing about me, I will not be convincing anybody to send their child to my school. If you come willingly or not at all.
Yeah. Now, what is your end game with being here today for Free the Water, Free the Land?
To raise the consciousness, to motivate black people in Jackson to come together and understand that this only happened because we allowed it to. I don't like the fact that a lot of black people like to deify racism. And what I mean by deify racism is you get black people say the reason why they was able to keep that crack capital district is because God basically gave them the power to do it over us. In other words, we don't like to look at the role we play in the oppression we suffer from. And there's too much deification of oppression. It begins with the black church, obviously, right? And I'm not against the church because I'm a descendant of A&B pastors, right?
That's right.
But the situation is we approach our political problems the same way we approach our religious problems.
That's right.
Everything is viewed through a Christian lens, a Muslim lens, a Jehovah's Witness lens. You can't do that. Why? Because the Bible is not a political manual.
Right.
It's a religious one.
That's right.
The Quran is not a political manual. It's a religious one. Nothing's wrong with it. But you don't go to those books to solve problems created by racism, because racism didn't exist the way it does now in the times of Muhammad ibn Abdullah and Jesus ibn Joseph. So we got to solve these problems using the best Bible of all, and that's the human intelligence of our active minds, you see. So when we start looking at political problems from a religious lens, we start scapegoating God for our lack of responsibility. Let me say that again. One of the biggest psychological problems in Black America, we love to scapegoat God for our lack of responsibility. God must have done that. Let's pray harder. I pray every day. I'm a praying person because the work I do is a dangerous work. You understand? I don't leave the house without praying. I'm going to pray again. You understand me? But I also understand that the God I serve does not work for me. God works through me. If I don't work for myself, God will never help me. And the problem with Black people is we have a learned self-helplessness mindset that makes us think we can't do nothing until God works first. God is the power that works through you. God don't work for you.
There you go. There you go.
That's right.
What do you want to say on this platform to the African American race as a whole?
The African race.
Okay,
African American branch of the African race.
Okay, the African race. Okay.
What we are going through is of our own doing. We can reverse it if we make up our minds to do it. But you will never do this unless you become economically disciplined. That's our Achilles heel. Black America is the only undisciplined ethnicity in the entire country. Mexicans weaponize their money for their benefit. Jews weaponize their money for their benefit. Chinese, Arabs, East Indians, Latinos, they weaponize their money for their benefit. We have never, in the post-Dr. King era, weaponized our money for our benefit. Whenever we talk political problems for Black people, we will talk voting all day long, but we never talk about organizing our money. Why we can talk all day about voting, but we can never talk about using our money to leverage our political power? Because the average Negro, be he a billionaire or a broke man, isn't interested in committing his money to the liberation of Black people. We are financially selfish, and we're suffering politically because of it.
Now, do you think that's an incurable disease?
Nothing is incurable. Nothing is incurable.
All right.
But here's the question. Are Black people willing to undergo the sacrificial pain necessary to go from degradation to salvation? That's the question. How much are you willing to suffer? You might be willing to lose your job.
Right.
You might be willing to lose your house. You might be willing to lose your life. J Money ain't willing to lose anything. Do you follow where I'm coming from?
I got you.
So when we come to the table, we have to stop assuming everybody is willing to sacrifice it all.
Right.
Find out what people are willing to sacrifice. If this brother says, listen, Doc, I got a family, and I know the race is more important than my unit, but I just can't stomach my family losing a roof over our heads by fighting for Black Jackson. Thank you for being honest, brother. So I know there's certain meetings I'm never inviting you to. There's certain pieces of information you never get because you just told me you will flip. You will flip if the power structure threatens your mortgage. You see? But it's okay because he was honest. I know how to use them. The problem with us, we're not honest. We'll walk into the room acting like I'm willing to die when your ass ain't even willing to pay $5 for freedom. You see what I'm saying? So if we know where everybody is, we can plug them in as we need it. You think all white folks is committed to the same level? They all committed to white supremacy, but they all have different levels of commitment. Some are willing to die for white supremacy, others not so much. But because they're honest with each other, they can plug them in where they go.
Gotcha.
We got to know people's level of loyalty.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? Your application for the community organization plan, put a scale on there, 1 to 10.
Right.
How much are you willing to live, to die, to go to jail for this? 1, circle. 2, no answer is wrong. Tell them no answer is wrong. We just got to know how we can use you.
Right.
You got some Black millionaires in Mississippi, right? They want to help, but they're not willing to lose their comfortable life. No problem. You never come into an inner council meeting, but I need you to do this over here. I need you to finance this over here. Even with our Black celebrities, what are you willing to do? You follow me? I hope it's more than just finance documentaries on people murdered by police, because that's all the hell they've been doing. Every time somebody get murdered, they finance a documentary. Can somebody please explain to me how much police brutality has slowed down because of documentaries over killed Blacks? It's not. Power responds to what? Power. It don't respond to documentaries. It don't respond to votes. It don't respond to marches. It responds to power. Get some.
We appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate it. So you got the water, free the land event.
Yes, indeed. 3 o'clock today, 429 Mississippi Street. We are in Jackson, Mississippi today. Dr. Umar's in Jackson. If you are in the state of Mississippi, I don't care if you Gulfport, I don't care if you Moss Point, I don't care if you Biloxi, I don't care if you up in the Delta. If you in the state of Mississippi, you need to be in Jackson, Mississippi today, 3 o'clock, outside Raleigh, free the land, save the water, and overthrow the capital city district. Today, 3 o'clock, 429 Mississippi Street. My New Orleans Africans, you're only 3 hours away. Hit the road. My Little Rock Africans, you're only a few hours away. Hit the road. My Memphis Africans, you're about 2 hours away. Hit the road. We in the building. Black Power. And for the record, as I said, I'm related to Frederick Douglass. I'm a kin, not a descendant.
Okay.
His first cousin is my 4 times great grandfather.
Okay.
My 4 times great grandfather, Stephen Henry Belly. His mother, my 5 times great grandmother, young Betsy, Frederick Douglass's aunt. She was sold into slavery from Maryland to Mississippi. My grandfather, Stephen, never heard from her again. Right? So she's buried somewhere. So for me, Mississippi is personal. And she's one of the few ancestors who was sent from Maryland to Mississippi while she was still a youth.
Right.
And we never heard from her again. So she's buried somewhere in this soil.
Well, you'll find it.
Well, I did have one more question.
Go right ahead. I'm all yours.
I'm
all yours. Before you get that, I want all your listeners, make sure you donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy.
Do that, yeah.
Tax exempt. It's tax exempt. Hit your Cash App, $FDMG School, $FDMG School. Hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. If you want to send a check or money order, make it out to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box, 9634 Wilmington, Delaware, 9634 Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. Black parents who have issues with your children, if you need expert consultation from an expert school psychologist, you can reach me by email, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. You can reach me by website, drumarjohnson.com, or you can reach me by cell phone. Text message only. Do not call me because I don't answer numbers I don't recognize. Text message only. 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Your question, Queen.
I wanted you to let everybody know how important it is for people to support Black and for the Black dollar to circulate in the Black community.
Show me a politically devastated people. I'll show you an economically devastated people. Show me an economically strong people. I'll show you a politically strong people. Your economic situation and your political crisis, they go hand in hand. They the top and the bottom. They the yin and the yang. And unfortunately for us, because we're not economically disciplined enough to use our money to benefit our liberation, we never talk economics. Think about all the conversations you've seen on TV. The revolt summits, CNBC reports, Black church gatherings. We always talk about we need to vote. You hear about voting 99% of the conversation. You never hear about we need to invest our disposable income into creating our own institutions. For example, we love to celebrate Black Wall Street, don't we? Tulsa, Oklahoma, 101 years ago, bombed to the ground, right? We used to celebrate Wilmington, North Carolina. There's a documentary out on the Black Wall Street in Wilmington.
I think I've seen
Rosewood,
that.
Florida.
Love
Charleston,
Rosewood.
South Carolina. You have Black Wall Streets all over the
history
country.
is strong.
But check it out. Here's the hypocrisy of Black people. Why we keep on worshiping and praising these Black Wall Streets of a century ago when we have failed to create one in this century?
Right.
Do you realize there's not a Black city in this country? We're 50 million across 50 states. 50 million across 50 states. You can't show me a single city where we own independently, not white finance or government grants, independently, Black school to educate the people, Black hospital to save the people, Black supermarket to feed the people, Black bank to invest in the people. How is it possible? We are a $2 trillion people, the richest Africans in the world. We are the 10th most powerful economy on earth. Black America alone. You ain't got a single Black Wall Street to call yours.
Wow.
Chinese can come 5 years, they got one.
They got one.
Arabs can come 5 years, they got one. Why you ain't got one? It ain't exclusively due to racism. It's due to the economic selfishness of Black people. We are not yet ready to put our money where our mouth is.
Okay.
All right, man. We definitely appreciate you. Give out that info one more time when you're going to be, sir.
And also, I want to say this. If you want to work at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, send me your resume. We are an independent school. Don't worry about being certified because private private schools have a separate certification process. Send your resume to fdmgresumes@gmail.com, fdmgresumes@gmail.com. We need math and science and language and social studies, but we also need sisters who could do natural hair to teach our girls. We need men who know gun training, African martial arts, how to build websites, do documentaries, how to go hunting, how to go fishing. We're going to make our boys into men, the black men that black women need, so we can shut down the snow bunny crisis. Today, 3 o'clock, Jackson, Mississippi, King Kong consciousness is in the building, 429 Mississippi Street, free to land, free to water, Mississippi pull up, Louisiana pull up, Arkansas pull up, Alabama pull up, Tennessee pull up, 3 o'clock today, outdoors is free, 429 Mississippi Avenue, and then afterwards, at 3 o'clock, we're going to go to the African
Is it 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock?
Excuse me, 3 o'clock is the rally.
Yeah.
6 o'clock, there will be a meet and greet at 6. Rally at 3, meet and greet at the African Art Gallery. What's the address? I might have it on my phone.
I don't know.
Hold on, I might have it.
Yeah.
The African Art is free. It's free. 6 o'clock, if y'all want to sit down and have a conversation with Dr. Umar, tell me how much you can't stand my guts. And that is at 800 North Farish, Farish. That's the street.
Yeah.
Farish.
800 North Farish. So come to the rally at 3 o'clock. Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee. Rally at 3 o'clock, 429 Mississippi Street. And then meet and greet at 6 o'clock. African Art Gallery, 800 North Farish. And that is spelled Farish. Or text me for the flyer, 215-989-9858. Black Queens forever,
Yes.
Snow Bunnies never.
3 minutes the afternoon Office Party 748
I love it.
podcast. Y'all keep it locked.
Can we get a picture?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Urban City Podcast.